ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे। Hare Krishna. So today we are looking from 16th chapter. I'll read this verse and translation and then get to the discussion. The very famous series of verses discussing asuri pravritti. Idam adhya maya labdam imam prapsya manoratham. Idam astidhim api me bhavishyati punardhanam. Asau maya hatashatru hanishye cha paranapi. Ishwaroham aham bhogi siddhoham balavan sukhi adhyo abhijanavaanasmi konyosti sadrisho maya. Yakshe dasyami modishya itya jnana vimuhitaha. So here Krishna says the demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today and I will gain more according to my scheme. So much is mine now and it will increase in future more and more. He is my enemy and I have killed him and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the lord of everything, I am the enjoyer, I am perfect, powerful and happy. I am the richest man surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices, I shall give some charity and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. Okay, so you know what we are going to discuss today is related to this particular verse, trying to understand this asuri pravritti, right, which Krishna is talking about in the 16th chapter. Is it that people are like out and out asuric always, or is it that sometimes some so-called decent people also can end up with asuri pravritti? Right. So this is the first question that we will ask. I hope you're not, everyone is getting the point. So one is to say that someone like Ravan or Hiranyakashipu or in modern times some Hitler, Stalin, out and out they are having asuri pravritti. So that everybody will agree. But what we may sometimes miss out is that even people who appear to be very nice and dharmic, right, they can also be asuric at times because they may end up having such a pravritti. So consciously they may not be asuric, but somehow due to their own choices, they may end up like that. So let's take an example. I mean, that will be the main example that we will consider today. All of you will be able to appreciate that better. In the Bhagavatam 10th canto, we read the story of this king Satrajit. Now, if you see this particular king Satrajit, he was actually a nice person. As in, he was not like a Ravana or a Hiranyakashipu or something. Right? He was not a out and out Rakshas, Asura type of person. But circumstantially, he ended up having Asuri Pravritti. How was that? Because he got the Samantaka jewel. And when he got the Samantaka jewel, that jewel was giving him so many kilograms of gold every day. Correct? And when that was happening, he somehow went into this mode only. Correct? He was also thinking like this only. So much wealth I have today and I will give more and more. So much is mine now, it will increase in future and so on. Correct? Now, if you see the story of the Satrajit, when he got the Samantaka jewel, Krishna very nicely went to him and told him that, hey, Satrajit, this is a very, this particular type of jewel which is there, it should only be with the king. So it is for your own good. I will advise you that you please give it to King Ugrasen. Actually, Krishna gave him a very sane advice because it is a fact that if something is very precious, a simple person cannot protect it. Even though Satyajit is said to be some kind of a king only, but still he was not considered that powerful that he will be able to protect that particular jewel. So Krishna gave a very sane advice to him, but again, Krishna did not push it too much. But Satyajit refused because his idea was, I want the entire thing for myself. So please try to understand his basic, Satyajit's basic consciousness was this entire, all the gold that is coming from this Chamantaka jewel, I only want it for myself. I don't want to give it to anybody. Correct. So this becomes Asuri Pravritti. Okay. So this is what I was saying earlier, that there are out and out asuras or rakshasas that we see in our scriptural tales, but there are also sometimes persons who circumstantially, due to certain situation, end up becoming like that because they get such a facility. They end up becoming very self-centered, and they think that everything is for me. So this brings us to the next question. There is a big difference between hoarding and saving wealth. Okay, so saving wealth is something that everybody must do. We see that even Lord Chaitanya told Vasudev Datta that you should save money, and he told Shivajananda the same, that you be a secretary and ensure that he saves enough money. So Rupa Goswami talks about saving 25% of one's wealth. So, I mean, of course, today is budget day, so the whole country today is talking about money only. So saving is certainly very important, but hoarding is something which is born out of obsession. Right? For Satrajit, what happened? It became more like hoarding because so many kilograms of gold was coming daily, and he wanted everything for himself only. Okay, so he ended up becoming a hoarder. And when you become a hoarder, actually, what happens is you become very insensitive to everybody around you. Okay, so I mean, let's start with the budgeting only today, and in that context, I want to say, like sometimes in our country also, nowadays we see that certain governments give some schemes to poor people. They are giving ration free. They are giving some 2,000 rupees for some ladies whose annual income is less than 1 lakh and all that. Correct. Many times, what happens is those of us who are affluent, middle class, upper middle class, we feel that, Arey, why all these people are given money like this, free. Of course, it's a debatable topic how much free you should give people, because it's a very hotly debated point in our society. But at one level, if you see now sensitively, indeed in our country, there are people who are really very, very poor. There are most of us who are educated, having good jobs, we may end up being the top 1 or 2% of our country. Whereas if you see a large, more than 80% of the population is living on free ration from government. Annual income less than 1 lakh. Annual income less than 1 lakh. So really, when they get some small money like 2,000 rupees from government, also it really helps them. So sometimes those of us who are well-to-do, we tend to also develop this asuric bhava where we are a little insensitive to people around. We may feel that, why government is giving all these people, they should not have anything. So, there has to be some kind of balance somewhere between capitalism and socialism, right? Because capitalism means that you don't care about the fellow who is poor, is going to die, let him die like that. Socialistic thing, you have to think about others also. Now, again, if you see Satrajit, when he was getting so much gold, see, Krishna's point was very important. Krishna's point was, if the king has this, one thing is that Samantaka jewel can be protected because Satrajit will not be able to protect it. Second thing is, the king Ugrasena will be able to do good for so many people with that gold. Because he's a king, right? He can do benefit for so many people with that gold. Which a person like Satrajit, he may not even be able to do it like that. So one should be very careful that the hoarding tendency which is there, it is an asuric tendency, and it is disastrous actually, right? It is not. Now let's do another thing. Let us remember that when we say hoarding, it is not just about money, right? Money is certainly one thing. There is hoarding. So basically, a large-heartedness means to give also. So give means give knowledge, give ideas, right? I mean, simple example, like even a simple lady who doesn't have much money, she may know a recipe, correct, of making an item. So if somebody will ask her that, with how much of full heart she reveals the entire recipe to the other person, right? That indicates a broad-mindedness in the system. On the other hand, someone with a little Rakshasi Pravritti may feel, Arey, why should I tell the whole recipe to that person? They will also make the way I did and earn good name. So let me tell them one ingredient less, or something like that, so that they don't make that item perfectly. So when we talk about sharing, it is not just about wealth. It can be about ideas. It can be about space. It can be about relationships, right? Just like a mother-in-law or daughter-in-law comes home, is she ready to share her son with this new lady, right? As in, if she says that no, this boy is mine only and I will only keep interfering, there is a problem. She has to share. She has to give it away, right? So this large-heartedness, it is not only in monetary terms, but it is in several aspects of our life. It indicates Devi Sampat, a broad and mindedness, the quality of the divine, right, as we say. But otherwise, a person tries to hoard everything, keep everything for oneself only, and not look beyond oneself, then that is not very appreciated in our scripture, correct? If you see, that's why if you see in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna basically tells Arjuna that Yajna Dana Tapa purifies everybody, Krishna says. So Dana or giving away is considered important. So one is, of course, the government forcibly takes a tax and gives it away. But otherwise, also a general spirit to give and to not be hoard. Like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, there are several stories about how he would tell householders to be charitable to the poor people also. He would say that, your heart will become very hard if you don't share with them. Of course, I understand that in today's world, sometimes there are professional beggars who only wear the dress of a beggar and, they do something. That let's keep that aside. But if genuinely someone is having difficulty, then either the government is doing something for them, or if we do, then we should not feel that no, I will not do anything. Let them only earn. Let them come up. We will not do anything for them. So the point is this hoarding tendency which Krishna is speaking in this verse, which is asuri pravritti, basically leads to self-absorption. You understand self-absorption, right? One is thinking only about oneself. Correct. One is thinking, so this hoarding tendency makes one very strongly think only about oneself. And when one thinks like that, that is considered like psychological Mayavad, right? It's philosophical Mayavad. And there is, from psychology perspective also, there is Mayavad. Correct. Which is where you're only thinking about yourself and not about people in general. See, that's why, this story of Sudama Brahman is very, very interesting story. In the Bhagavatam, we know the Sudama story that Krishna gave a beautiful house and facilities to Sudama Brahman. So this Vallabhacharya in his commentary, actually it's Vallabhacharya commentary, he basically writes that Krishna not only transformed Sudama's jhopdi into a big palace, but the entire village of Sudama became very opulent. Okay, that is not mentioned in the Bhagavatam verse, but this Vallabhacharya mentions that in his commentary. Now, this point which is there, right, is certainly worth thinking about. Just imagine, Sudama Brahmin was living in some jhopdi, a thatched hut, perhaps, and certainly the people in that locality also must have been having thatched huts only, because everybody in a similar place tend to, the houses tend to look very similar. So basically, he was living in a very poor surrounding. Now imagine if only Sudama's thatched hut became a big palace, and all around Sudama's palace, all thatched huts are there. Imagine what would happen to those people. They will become extremely envious of Sudama. They will start throwing stones on his house and so on, right? Because it is a fact that those who are poor, right, they tend to envy the rich. See, poor person doesn't mean he's pure in consciousness. He has a tendency to envy the rich. He feels that, array, this fellow has become rich, means he's a bad guy. So let us throw stone at him. Okay, so both people have a problem. The poor person has the fault of envying the rich, and the rich man has the fault of becoming very self-absorbed and very self-centric, selfish. That is what Krishna is taking, and both these are asuri pravritti. So that's why it is very important that the person who has wealth or ideas or anything for that matter, he should not be a holder, but he should give. Okay, when he gives, then even in society there is a softness towards him. Just like we see in Indian politics also, this Rahul Gandhi, for example, in his Congress party, throughout he always criticizes Ambani Adani. Why does he do that? Because the poor people generally have a feeling that these people like Ambani, Adani, they have become rich means they are bad people. Okay. And when he says things like, I will redistribute wealth, I will take their wealth and give it to all, and all that stuff when he talks, that actually hits the imagination of the poor people. They feel, wow, this is amazing. We will get some extra money from these rich people. On the other hand, when these rich people do charity, they should do charity very openly also. So I was very happy to see how this Adani Enterprises, they are doing this big charity during Kumbh Mela, right? By giving food to everybody. It has become very famous. They tied up with ISKCON to, he has sponsored the entire food program, distribution program of ISKCON during Kumbh Mela. He has also sponsored with, partnered with Gita Press Gorakhpur, and is giving all these Arati books to everybody. By doing this, what basically happens is there is a softness created in society also. Right? He should do it not only to create that image, but I'm just saying that it is very important, because when rich people, they don't hoard everything and they give it in this way, then even the poor person, his asuri pravritti also goes away. See, it's so beautiful, right? The rich man's asuri pravritti goes away because he's not hoarding, he's sharing. And the poor man's asuri pravritti of envying the rich man goes away because he feels that hey, even though he's rich, he's giving money to people. He is sharing his wealth with others. So he also feels a little softness towards them. In this way, both come out of asuri pravritti and eventually come to Devi Prakriti. So these are the things we need to see from the Gita, right? So there are many stories like this actually in the Shastra. Like there is another story in the Bhagavatam. There's a story from South India. The story about a Brahmin, not a Brahmin actually, a potter, right, who was sitting with several different types of rod in Vrindavan selling the pots. Then Krishna was running away from the gopis in one particular baby Krishna, small Krishna, child Krishna was running away from Yashoda Maya, and all the gopis were chasing with a stick. And he hid. He requested this old man that please give me a pot under which I can hide. So the old man put a big pot on top of Krishna, and Krishna was hiding inside that. Okay. And then the gopis and Krishna told the old man that, if the gopis come searching for me with a stick, tell them that you don't know where I am. So all the gopis came and they asked this person, hey, where is this Krishna? Did you see him? He said, I didn't see him. Sorry, I don't know. Then the gopis all went away. Then Krishna told him, okay, release me from the pot. You have covered me. So the old man said, I'm not going to release you like that. You'll have to give me liberation. So Krishna said, hey, what are you talking? I'm just a small child. I don't know what is the liberation and all that. The old man said, no, you know everything. You can give liberation. Please give me liberation. Then Krishna said, okay, I'll give. Then this old man said, I want liberation for all my family and my village also. Krishna said, what is this? Just once you put the pot on me and you are asking so much for that. Old man said, no, I know you can give. So, and then the story goes on that he is asking, he finally asks liberation for the pot also. So Krishna says, Arey, the pot is matter. How can it get liberation? The old man says, no, this pot also in spiritual world, it will get some service. So ensure that this pot also goes back to the spiritual world. Anyway, the point is that old man was very sensitive, right? He was sharing his fortune of suddenly obtaining Krishna with his entire family, village, everybody. Everyone, he was taking them literally back to Godhead. Correct? So all these stories are there to tell us that anything we have with us, whether it is spiritual fortune, whether it is wealth, whether it is some nice point we hear, or something nice, we should not just keep it with ourselves, hoarding, because that makes us demonic as this asuri pravritti. Rather, we should share it with others. And if we don't do that, we meet with eventual destruction. So, going back to our story of our, Satrajit, if you see carefully that Satrajit, because he was hoarding all the gold and not sharing it with Ugrasen and not using that gold in the welfare of people, that brought so much of misfortune. Eventually, Satrajit died, his brother Prasena died, correct? Then Balaram got angry with Krishna because of all this misunderstanding. Balaram went away to Mithila for 3 years. And for 3 years he was there. And it is at that time Duryodhan came and Balaram became the teacher of Duryodhan. And Balaram promised Subhadra to Duryodhan in marriage. Of course, Krishna managed it later and ensured that Subhadra marries Arjuna only and not Duryodhana. But the point is, all this mess happened just because of one Asuri Pravritti who was Satrajit. Because he said, I will keep everything with myself, I will not give it. Right? So that's why if you see in our Shastra also, right, if you see, uh, like if you see astrology also, there are 12 houses. And the first house, four houses are self. Next four houses are related to family, and the next set of four houses, the final set of four houses, are related to Samaj, society, right? So the thing is, you first take care of yourself, that is accepted, but then you have to not be very selfish. You have to extend that to your family and ultimately extend that to the society as well, Samaj. And then it comes back to you again. So basically, you, the family, and the Samaj, right? So you have to share whatever you have with everyone. Otherwise, it's very, very detrimental to oneself, due to which this particular thing comes up. And that's why I want to end with this famous Prabhupada story where he would always say that for a householder, giving food, he would say, right, is very important. Meaning, on many occasions, he would say that for a grahastha, he should three times call out if anybody is hungry and then only he should eat. All this is said in our scriptures because the scriptures want to ensure that we don't become very self-centered and hoarding mentality type. Rather, we are always giving, giving, giving. Of course, with enough saving as well. So that's why, so that giving is not at the cost of oneself. That's why earlier I spoke about the example of Vasudev Datta, because he was giving so much, he was not keeping anything for himself and family. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not very happy. He told Shivananda, this fellow is giving too much. So you have to save also for yourself and family, but then you should not hoard too much also, and you should give. And as I was saying earlier, even when governments do such schemes of taking tax from us, like most of us come in the 30% tax bracket in India, correct? And we will see all these maids and poor security people and all these fellows getting 2,000 rupees and so many schemes they have from government, right? So once my wife was also talking to me, she was asking me what scheme we get from the government. I said, we get nothing. We are able to just stay with security. That itself is a big thing, right? Because we end up being in the higher, whatever, tax bracket and so on. So there are no government schemes for people like us, right? Government schemes are for poor, and we should not feel. We should also feel a little broad-minded when we see this, that such people are also getting something. At least we are not directly giving. Government is taking from us and giving them. We should not feel too hard-hearted, thinking that why they need these people should not get anything, right? No, we should feel a little compassion for them as well. Okay, so these are some thoughts on this particular verse from the Gita, where Krishna is warning us not to be a hoarder. Hoarding mentality should not be there. And as I said, this can end up making us very insensitive, very self-absorbed, and make us actually asuric prakriti. So we need to understand, so Devi Prakriti, Asuri Prakriti, it's not just about taking a dress. I may have taken the dress of a devotee, but I can have Asuri Prakriti. Right? Sometimes we see also that someone is there, he's a devotee, rich man, it's some poor auto wala or some poor guy. You will bargain so much and not give him the money only. So it's a very, very bad habit sometimes. Right? We see poor people are there and some small service they do. Like I have seen this also. Some rich people, they will employ some laborer in their house, some servant. They will not be very considerate in giving them, right? They will try to cut as much as possible and give them very less. Though these people have a lot. So you may be a devotee, but if you have such a mentality of not having that broad-mindedness from this Gita verse, we can understand that you are basically having Asuri Pravritti. Correct? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any quick question? Anybody with anything?
Totally no question, but thank you very much for that class.
Oh, yeah, yeah, sure. Okay, thank you. There are no questions. We will stop. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai.